Supportive wife. Needed some change of scenery to keep sane. Want to travel? Travel to Central Europe because it's cheap and safe. No one wants to go with me? Not a problem. I'll go myself. Holy crap. Am I really doing this? Am I really getting on this plane to go to a place where I know absolutely no one? Why am I doing this again? Oh yeah, I was bored. After my layover in Brussels, a few hours in Berlin, and a train ride, I was finally in Prague. I was ready to live out my backpack for 3 weeks and live the hostel and nomad life. I finally made it to the start of my journey. Prague has a great public transportation system involving subways, trams, and buses. All this is essentially free because it is an open system and relies on you validating your ticket on your mode of transportation. The only backup are ticket inspectors, which rarely come. So if I were you, I would save a bit of money and enjoy the generosity of the Czech people. I would recommend staying in Prague for at least 2 days, no more than 4. It is a beautiful and lovely city, but it's still relatively small. Prague is famous for its iconic clock tower. It's nothing spectacular now, but imagine if you were a peasant in the 1400s and saw animated figures in a golden chicken squawk. You'd be amazed. In fact, it was so amazing, the ruler cut the hands off of the clockmaker, so no other town would have anything close to it. The animations occur every hour at the main square above the face of the clock. It's worth checking out and climbing to the top for 55 kroners for a better view of the city. Another great thing to do in Prague is walk over the chain bridge, climb up one of its towers for a great view of the city, and then head over to the castle complex. From there you can get another great view of the city from the old stairs, in addition to walking through the castle courtyard and seeing the amazing church inside. After that, head over to the Petrin Tower for another great view of the city and a good exercise coming up. Since your trip is shaped around the people that you meet, I like to call the people that you meet disposable friends. Disposable friends are the people that you meet and decide to spend your time with for a few hours, days, or weeks. You want to make these friends on a solo trip to go out with, see the new sights, or simply talk to them because man is a social creature. Because you'll never see that person ever again in your whole life, there is nothing stopping you from revealing your true self to them in the hopes of finding a person that you really want to connect with and spend your time. Then, when it's time to leave, you just part your ways and it's done. Unless you exchange contact info, and sometime in the near future, you just might see them on your next trip. The 2 dudes I met at the first hostel were Bernardo and Bernardo, or I like to call them the 2 Bens. During my first 3 days in Prague, I bounced around from one hostel to another, and slowly added more people to the group. During the second day, we met Andrea. She was a girl from Colombia and was already at the end of her journey, and was about to fly back to Bogota, Colombia.
I've been traveling for 5 weeks, and you just met many people, many places. Every time you arrive, that's the best thing about getting to a place. Just see something new. It doesn't mind if it's ugly, and if it's weird, and if it's beautiful. It just came to your eyes. You're like, wow, this is new every time. So I think that's the best part. And of course, like meeting people, hearing the different languages, just enjoy.
We also met Mario from Valencia, Spain. He was a cool dude and a great cook. In Mario's own words,
it's amazing travel. You need to.
It is generally assumed that backpackers don't have too much money, so a shared meal in a hostel kitchen with your new friends is a great way to save money and socialize. And sometimes you get lucky and your friends make amazing meals.
The outside of the tomb.
During height of tourist season, you should always plan ahead. For my third night in Prague, I was out of luck because all the hostels were fully booked. Fortunately, I met Peter on the train from Berlin to Prague and we exchanged contact information, and I thought to myself, why not? So I gave him a call, and to my surprise, he let me stay at his place for the next 2 nights in Prague. Peter showed me around the city for a little bit, and we even played beach volleyball with his friends and went out at night. It's crazy to think that he let me stay at his place for 2 whole nights, out of a conversation that only lasted maybe an hour tops on a train. And I like to think that I helped open up his mind a little bit to some more extreme adventures in life.
Is that told you you're crazy to do it? So yeah.
First time hitchhiking outside of Prague. Waited for 20-30 minutes, asked the trucker where he was going. He wasn't going to Bratislava, but he was going to Brno, which is on the way to Bratislava. Thumbs up. Otto the trucker was a cool dude. Unfortunately, he didn't speak that much English, and I didn't speak that much Hungarian. I still found out that it was his first time picking up a hitchhiker and my first time hitchhiking. When we got to a road that led to Brno, he dropped me off, gave me a beer, and we split ways. I would definitely encourage hitchhiking in and around the Czech Republic as the ultimate form of travel for the solo traveler. From Brno, I took a train to Bratislava since I did not want to make my couchsurfing host wait too late for me. In Bratislava, I met up with Igor from Couchsurfing. He was an interesting, quirky guy, and was also a world traveler much like the rest of the Couchsurfing population. He made me feel extremely welcome in his home and city. We went out to a bar at night, and during the day he showed me around the city. A few cool churches, the castle, and a walk through the old town is really all that you can see in Bratislava. One day and one night is what I recommend for anyone passing through. From the outskirts of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, it was time to head to the capital, Vienna. I would recommend anybody going to Central Europe to stay in Vienna for 3-4 days. It feels much more like a modern city than Prague or Bratislava. The architecture is beautiful and there's tons to see. If you're a fan of museums, then you came to the right place. The only museum that I went to was Schönbrunn, which was the royal palace of the Habsburgs. The property of Schönbrunn is massive and there's tons to do, so you can easily spend a day there. In addition, Vienna has the most efficient public transportation system I've ever seen. And again, it's quote-unquote free. Subways get you anywhere in the city quickly and efficiently. In Vienna, I was welcomed by my first couchsurfing host, Ines. After that, we met up with another couchsurfer.
I'm Frank from Mexico City, and I'm a solo traveler. I'm traveling to Europe 1 month and a half, and I want to do it alone because in that way I always think that you are more free and you have the liberty to go to every place you want or do wherever you want to do.
I stayed with Enos for 2 days, and then it was time for my next couchsurfing adventure. I met up with Michael at a subway station, and little did I know, after a night of slow drinking with another one of his friends, we would visit his family's home in the Austrian countryside. When I got there, it felt just like home. His parents were very warm and welcoming, and his mom even cooked homemade Austrian schnitzel with sweet potato salad. After that, we went on a bike adventure through the countryside. stepped into Michael's countryside home, I was immediately faced with dozens of these massive 3D paintings. Apparently his dad is a bit of a Renaissance man. He makes incredible 30-40 kilogram paintings with cement, now netting and spackle.
My full name is Kurt Obermann, Kurt Obermann. I'm working at the bank and my hobby is to make sports and to make pictures.
And when did you start this hobby?
This hobby before 5 years.
And why do you paint these images the way you do of Egypt, of Israel, of other places around the world?
I go to internet and I see many ideas and I make pictures from the nature, from a continent.
And how long does it take for you to make one?
Such a picture I need 50 hours. In Celle I have eine Werkstatt, ein sehr mit Spachteln und mit Kit. This is not a good work.
From the Austrian countryside, I had to say goodbye to Michael's mom, amazing cooking, and go to my next destination, Budapest. Budapest is an amazing city. It rightfully deserves its nickname as Paris of the East, with Andrési Utka mimicking the Champs-Élysées ending in Hero Square. Budapest deserves at least 4 days. It is a big city and there's much to see and do. Walking tours are amazing tools for solo travelers to make friends with other travelers during their trip. I solidified my relationship with the two Bens in Prague on a walking tour, and in Budapest I met with another American, Steven, from Miami, who was also a traveler much like myself and shared many of the same opinions on traveling as I did.
I feel like solo traveling gives this almost second sense of independence. You also have a gain freedom with it. And although people are limited by money, by time, a lot of the time, it's something kind of new, something exciting, exhilarating, that it's you and you're in the world, and you might not know your next step, or you might, but you don't know really what's waiting for you. And I guess that's the benefit of solo traveling, really. You have the flexibility to do what you want and do it when you want. So I feel like it builds character for sure, but I almost feel like that's an understatement. To me, it's just kind of a sense of it's you and you have the world waiting for you.
Free walking tours are even better, and there's tons of them in Budapest, and they are very good and very professional for just relying on tips. Just Google free walking tours Budapest, and they're the first link to come up. They have the general walking tour, a communism themed walking tour, and a Jewish themed walking tour. All three are incredibly amazing and a great way to spend 2-3 hours. Hungarian is a crazy language. Do not bother learning it, because it is unlike any other European language. Apparently, it is a distant cousin of Finnish. All you really need to know is that utka, the Russian word for duck, means street. And I guess Shikandra is their word for cheers. Budapest has two sides, Buda and Pest. Buda is the hilly side, Pest is the main city side. At nighttime, walk across the chain bridge to the Buda side to see the lit up Parliament building from the Fisherman's Bastion, because it's free at night and the view is amazing. During the day, walk inside the Parliament building to get a free tour. Unfortunately, when I went, it was under construction and couldn't get in. Also, go to St. Stephen's Basilica to see this huge cathedral and St. Stephen's Preserved Hand. On the other side of the religious spectrum, go to the Hone Street Synagogue, which is the largest synagogue in Europe. Walk from downtown along Andrési Utka to Hero Square. Here you'll find all the heroes of Hungary in a massive plaza. Budapest has also tons of museums, but you should definitely visit the House of Terror. It gives you a little insight on what the Hungarian people went through during World War II and after, with the neo-Nazi Hungarian era cross-party followed by communist domination. Budapest is also famous for its bathhouses. I went to Szochenyi Bathhouse, which is in City Park, or a 5-minute walk from Hero Square. This bathhouse is very big and has tons of room. There are tons of pools, saunas, and medicinal pools, all of varying temperatures all across the complex. Take a full day to go enjoy all these amenities. In Budapest, I stayed with another couchsurfer, Victor. He was a cool guy and showed me how to get around at night using public transportation. During my time in Budapest, I hit a wall. Jumping around from city to city and filling all 24 hours of my day with something to do was exhausting. So for a day I just stayed in Victor's apartment and watched movies online. During a long trip, you always need time to recharge. The bathhouse also helped to revitalize mind and body. Public transportation is relatively cheap and efficient. I recommend getting a multi 3-day transport card. In the city, you do have to pay for transport because at every entrance to every subway station, there are at least 2 people making sure you validate your ticket. And at the exit of every subway station, there are at least 2 people making sure you validated your ticket. And these guys love to pick on tourists and make them pay fines if they did not validate. So always validate your ticket or just show your multi-day trial card and you'll be fine. But these guys can't be replaced with cheap machines because Vladislav is the mayor's third cousin, and if he's unemployed, it'll look bad. If you stay at a hostel downtown, there's no need for a taxi. But if you do take one, make sure you read up on normal prices and always set a price before getting into a cab, and don't be afraid to haggle. Another variation of a walking tour is a pub crawl. Pub crawls are a great way to make friends since alcohol is the ultimate social lubricant. FreePubCrawlBudapest.com is a sweat and blood of a few young kids trying to show backpackers how much fun Budapest has to offer. They provide a great service and also work on tips. This pub crawl guides you through ruined pubs and bars. Ruined pubs and bars are old converted factories or shops which young entrepreneurs turned into colorful pubs and bars. Most of them are in the city's Jewish district, which is where the best nightlife is because it's relatively cheap and where many locals go. During my 5 nights in the city, 3 of them were spent on this pub crawl. All in all, Budapest is a huge city with tons to do and will be relatively cheap for the Western traveler, so it's definitely a must-see if you are in Central Europe. After my 5 days in Budapest, it was time for my last city on my European tour, Belgrade. From Budapest to Belgrade, you have to take an 8.5-hour train ride. If you do take this route, I recommend buying your tickets in the main international train station at least 1 day in advance. In Belgrade, or the White City, I checked into my final hostel, the Hedonist Hostel in the Student Park in downtown Belgrade. And there I met Adam from Australia and Nick and Tom from the US. And as always, with meeting new people.
Yeah, so you get sick of the backpacker chat. Where have you been? Where do you come from? And how was it? And how long are you away from home? So I think I've asked and answered those questions well over 1,000 times this year.
Belgrade also had a free walking tour. This one was led by a young man named Žoko. And what would a trip to Serbia be without trying some free rakia on a free walking tour and free homemade jam? Žoko led us to see some of the main sites in Belgrade, including downtown, the Old Castle, Bohemian Quarter, and an overview of the Sava and Danube rivers. Along the way, he told us the ancient history of Serbia, as well as recent modern history. Žoko is one of the growing number of people catering to tourists in Belgrade, creating a well-established tourism infrastructure. I would recommend staying in Belgrade for 2-3 days. Serbia was once part of the former Yugoslavia, so there are plenty of Yugos everywhere. In addition, Belgrade was home to Nikola Tesla. His museum is definitely worth checking out. The main attraction of Belgrade's nightlife are the bars and clubs situated on barges on the Danube and Sava rivers. From downtown, you could walk over a bridge and take your pick of any numerous bars or clubs situated on the river and barges. Styles range from super exclusive clubs to normal bars playing great American dance music. In Serbia, I walked the city during the day, and at night I played drinking games in the hostel with Nick and Tom and Adam before heading out to the barges for a night of dancing and fun. My 2 days in Belgrade flew by just like that, and I was on a plane heading to Berlin to catch my flight home. I thought a lot about what Adam said.
The differences traveling by yourself rather than with friends, like the negatives are also the positives. Like the positive is that you can meet new people all the time, but you also have to meet new people all the time. You can make your own decisions, but you have to make your own decisions all the time. And you can have time on your own, but you also have to have time on your own. So there are positives and negatives at the same time, and it depends what mood you're in. But I like the independence of it.
Has solo traveling changed you?
No, I don't know. You learn things, you learn more about yourself, and you have a lot more time for introspection.
Solo traveling isn't for everybody, but for those that embrace it, they'll have the time of their lives.